How many hours it usually takes?
We got
16
so
hours.
you can keep going.
Are you sure you want the feedback?
No,
You got lots of feedback going on here.
it's because I have my phone connected to that. Don't worry.
Can you bring back my
I'm
presentation?
trying.
It is not easy, guys, to work the mouse on a backwards when you're looking at a screen that far away.
Yeah, we need a pointer that
Yeah.
Which one is the presentation?
That's a good question. Click on that. And then check window. And then that one. Share that. And then switch. Yeah. I go up to display settings. Swap. There we go.
Now we have one.
See
you later.
Thank you. Okay, let's
Okay. All right. Well, let me go back. Where is the feedback coming from?
It was me, but even when I clicked the mic off, it still kept going.
Oh, wow.
So 2 meetings, I'm just gonna stop it. So go for it.
Okay. Well, we will do the best we can with what you want. So you said he's going to where?
Yoga, I'm pretty sure I'm positive I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Yokosuka, Japan, which is a naval base. I think it's an hour below Tokyo.
Yeah, well, there's lots of naval bases. You know, there's definitely one down here. There's one up in Fukuoka. That's the one that one of my friends was stationed in when the disaster happened. She was there. Yokosuka, I think, is
Yeah,
right
somewhere
in
around
that
there.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, right below Mount Fuji. So that's an interesting place to be. Yeah. So I visited Honshu, the main island, but I spent most of my time down here on Kyushu Island, and I went all over that island. Okay, well, let's move forward a little bit. So where was I in HO? This is a Google map of it, and obviously in Japanese. But HO being right on the beach was really, really, really easy to get from where I lived, which was, let's see, this is the area where I live. That's my house right in there, right in that area. That's where I lived. And I lived right between, right here, this was a gravestone maker. And right here was an arranged marriage counselor. And yes, you heard that right. Arranged marriage. So right in between those two. And I worked right here at the city hall, actually in this building right back here, which was in Japanese called the Kyokuenkai. We would call it the Board of Education. So if I walked down this little road about a quarter of a mile, I came to the beach. And if I stood on the beach on a really good day and I looked out across the water, I could see Iwo-jima. Anybody ever heard of Iwo-jima? Yeah, some of you are nodding. World War II, Iwo-jima, that famous, probably you've seen it, that image of the soldiers with the flag, trying to put the flag up on Iwo-jima after really intense fighting. That Iwo-jima, you could see it from the beach in HO. While I was there, I lived inside a typical Japanese house. So you can see my house with my laundry hanging up. But the typical house, you have tatami mat floors. They're woven reed floors. They're actually woven and stretched across frames about 3 foot by 6 foot. So floor space in Japan is measured in how many tatamis, right? So if you got 3 tatamis, right, you've got 3 of those 3-foot by 6-foot mats in your space area. So these are my good buddies. This is Byron. He's American. This is Tetsuko, his wife. She's Japanese. She's from Kagoshima. And of course, this is me. And the table, we're eating dinner at the table. This is a very low table. You sit on the floor in a Japanese house on little pillows, you can see. He's using chopsticks. And the walls of, this is my living room, but the walls of the living room can slide. So on a good day, if you want to breeze through, you can open them all up. You can open up the doors on the outside of the house, and you can be sitting outside in your living room because it's pretty much open to everything. This is a friend of mine, his house. You can see he's got a fancy house because he has a fire pit in the middle of it, and this thing hanging down here is a little cooking pot that he's hung from the ceiling, and we're having sukiyaki, which is pretty much where you take meat and vegetables and you put them in the boiling sauce and you eat it, and have a really good time. So his walls are a little bit different. I lived in Japan and I worked in Japan. My first 3 years there, I was pretty much a cultural ambassador because a lot of the people in that little village had never seen a foreigner ever. So you can imagine what it was like for them. My very first day in Japan, I was pretty jet lagged. I was hungry too. There was nothing in the refrigerator in the kitchen. I thought, I got to find the grocery store. So I get up, put on my normal clothes, walk down the road, and I'm looking for a grocery store. And I get all the way to the end of town. I hadn't seen nothing. I was like, these people eat. Where's the grocery store? So I turned back around. I'm like, I'm going to find it. So every store I went past, I'd look in the window. And finally, I found one. It was called the Taiyo, which means sun. That big old blazing red ball sun. So I look in the Taiyo, and in the front, there were clothes. But it's kind of like Walmart. There's food in another section. So when I'm looking through, I see the clothes, and then, oh, there's the food in the back of the store. So I open the door, I go in, I reach down, I get a basket, and the next thing I know, I'm hearing this. What? And I look up, and there's this little kid, and he's just doing this. He's dry screaming. He has no air. And I'm like, what? He's looking in my direction. So I turn around. I look behind me. There's nobody there. So I turn back. He's still looking in my direction. So I look. He's got to be looking at me. Next thing I know, his mother comes running around, running through the clothes, and she skids to a halt. And she's staring at me too. What the crap is going on here? The little kid, he runs behind his mom, grabs her skirts, and he's doing this number. At me! You know what? I didn't know I was that scared. Maybe I should brush my hair or something. But no, what it was is that I was the very first foreigner they had ever seen. And so it was scary for them because I didn't look like them at all. My hair was a different color. Believe it or not, I was taller than everybody else in Japan, and I'm pretty short here in America. I mean, I'm short. But my nose was the wrong shape. My skin was the wrong color. I, to them, looked pretty strange. And my language to them was incomprehensible. So they didn't know what to make of me, right? I found out later as I was looking through some children's books, you know, Disney, the bad guys in Disney, they're usually dark hair with a dark mustache, right? Dark eyes. kind of Japanese, dark hair, dark eyes, right? Think about it. The bad guys in the Japanese books, guess what? Blonde hair, blue eyes. Oh my. So that poor little child probably thought that I was a bad guy and I was there to pick up something to eat and he was on the menu. So, no wonder he screamed. Anyway, by the time I left, that's me. All these kids were around me. They thought that I was the best thing since, well, rice in a dish. So I got along with them. So my job as cultural ambassador was to help people in HO get used to foreigners, people that didn't look like them. In fact, let me give you another little tidbit. Your language gives a lot of clues about your thought processes. And I'll give you an example. In Japan, the word chigao. Anybody ever heard it before? Chigao. If you go to Japan and somebody says chigao at you, they're telling you you're doing it wrong. Chigao, that's wrong. It also means that's different. So different is wrong, is the way it's coming across, right? If you're doing something differently, if you look differently, if you act differently, if you talk differently, you're wrong. Think about that. And think about maybe what kind of language clues we're giving to people as well, the way our language is set up. Anyway, these are some of the kids that I would visit. As an ambassador, I visited everyone from nursery all the way up to nursing homes. So yeah, you could have been 3 years old, you could have been 93 years old. I was probably going to visit you at some point. And I had a rotating schedule. Every day it was someplace new. This is one of the shogakos, elementary schools that I went to. I also worked a lot in the community. So here you see me planting, guess what? Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes. We ate a lot of sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes come in a variety of colors in Japan too. Some of them are purple. Some of them are orange. I like the purple ones best. They were really good. They're less sweet and more firm. So if you're going to roast them, like on a hot rocks, they don't mush like the orange ones do. No, the orange ones are great for like sweet potato casseroles and things of that sort. But if you want to just be able to peel it and bite into it, the purple ones are best. And that's what I like. In fact, they would have little vendors, kind of like ice cream trucks that come from the neighborhood here. They'd have little vendors that would sell hot rock baked sweet potatoes, which in Japan are called ishi, which means rock, yaki, which means grilled, imo, which is what they call the potatoes. So these little trucks would come around and they'd have these loudspeakers, tiny little trucks. Ishi yakimo, yakimo. I hear that and I go, yes, there he is. Of course, they also had the fish vendors and the kerosene vendors. So you had to be careful which one you went to. All right. This is, you see on the left side, the Board of Education where I worked. And on the right side, one of my conversation classes. So these are just, normal people living and working in Japan, good friends. The next 3 years I spent at a Catholic women's college called Kagoshima Immaculate Heart, or Junshin Tandai is just what we called it there. And you can see the buildings. These are a couple of the buildings. This is the building where I live. This is the building where the nuns live. But my apartment was right here. I was part of a 24/7 immersion English program, so that the students who lived in the rest of the building had access to me all times, every day, all day, every day. I taught classes, taught English classes, obviously. I also taught drama, and I taught American literature. And you can see over here, my students are putting on the play Mulan in English, but they and I all lived in the same facility, and we ate dinners and lunches together, in the cafeteria at the bottom, and that was part of their time besides class time when they could sit with me and practice their English skills. So let's see what else is going on in Kagoshima. I mentioned Kaimondake. You can see it there. It's an extinct volcano, but it has that weird cone shape, right? There's a lot of extinct volcanoes all over Japan. This one, at the base of it, you can see all those pretty yellow flowers. Those are rape blossoms, which is a horrible sounding name, but they take the seeds from that and they press it and they make an oil, kind of like sunflower oil or peanut oil. So that's one of their crops. Also in that area, remember that lake that I pointed out and told you it was a volcano that had collapsed in on itself and the caldera had filled with water? Called Lake Ikeda, or Ikeda-ko. And it's most famous for its version of the Loch Ness Monster, which they call Ishi, or Ishikun. And you can see a little representation of him. Now, one of the things that was in that lake, I don't know if Ishi was actually in there, but one of the things that actually were giant eels. And the biggest one I ever saw pulled out of that lake was about this big around, and about, if his head was right here, his tail would have been about here. So when I say giant eel, I mean giant eel. He was a big eel. So needless to say, I didn't go skinny dipping in the lake. No, not a good idea. Might be eel food. Come out minus a few toes, maybe a whole foot. But one of the things I did like to do was go to the Tsunamushi Onsen. This is, well, think about it. With all of those volcanoes, the lava of the volcanoes is really close to the crust of the earth, and it heats the sand on the beaches, it heats the water, right? So there are areas where you can go and you can, at this onsen, you can pay a nominal fee and sit on the beach. You lay in a little trench and they pour this hot sand on you. This is just naturally heated by the lava that's underneath the crust of the earth. I used to love to do this in the winter time because there is no central heating in Japanese houses. You have your kerosene heaters and that's it. So I would get cold. And on the weekends, after I finished my work for the week, Friday, Saturday, I would head to the Tsunamushi Onsen and say, pack me with hot sand. And I would just lay there. And you're supposed to spend maybe 10 minutes. I'd spend as long as they'd let me. I was like, yeah, finally, I'm nice and toasty. But you get out of it, and of course, you're covered with this hot sand, and then you could go in and visit the water onsen and wash off. So a couple of things. One of the funny things that happened is, one of the times I was at the Tsunamushi Onsen, you notice the water right there, right? It's a beach, right? The water is also hot. It's not just the beach sand. The water is hot. So there are signs along that beach saying, boiling water, please do not get in. Well, most people aren't going to get into that water, but we were standing in line, me and a lot of other Japanese people were standing in line, and we were waiting for our turn to get buried in hot sand, yum yum. Some people get a little bored, and this old man, he looked to me like he was in his 80s. He's in his bathrobe. He's ready to get warmed up, and he's just looking at the water, and all of a sudden he starts doing this, and there's the water, and we're watching. Like, where's he going? He walks out. His toes are in the water. His ankles are in the water. His legs are in the water, and we're going, is he okay? He walks out. He gets to about his knees, And we're going, man, this guy's shoot. Can he even feel it? And there's bubbles coming up. It is truly boiling. And we're going, maybe we should go get him. There's something not right. No need. He got out just to his knees, and apparently he realized it's actually hot. So next thing we know, this 80-year-old guy is jumping like 4 feet into the air, doing a backflip and landing on the back on the beach. And he's not the only one. Fish come in, they hit that hot water. They also do backflips, and they swim out further. So yeah, it's hot, really hot. Other things to see in Kagoshima, the Charansho is a really old village. We would say samurai here, but samurai in Japan are actually the lower class warriors. The upper class are called the Bushi, right? So the Bushi warriors lived in Charan, and you can see some of their traditional homes. You can wander around. Charan is also famous for the Kamikaze Museum. You've heard the word kamikaze? Yeah. That's where they took off from. They would get in their planes and they would get up into the air, and during World War II, they would look for their target, and then they would use their airplane as a, projectile weapon and slam their plane into the boat that they were targeting. A lot of them left behind letters and memorabilia, which has been collected in the Charan Museum. So you can go in and you can read their letters that they left to their families. And some of them would say, no, I'm going on my mission. I will not be coming back. Make sure you do what your mama tells you to do. I am going to, I'm going to go on to heaven, and I'm going to be looking down on you, right? And I'm going to be taking care of you from the other side. They're really heartbreaking letters, a lot of them. And you see on the right-hand side there a bell. There's a huge peace bell there. And this boy that you see down here on the bottom, he's got a rope, and there's a log right here. You can see maybe it's about 6 foot long and about that big around, and you can take that log and slam it into the bell to ring for peace to continue. Because they don't want war. They really do not want war. Other things around Charancho, souvenir vendors, just like around here. You go someplace, you got to find the souvenir shops. They call them omiyage. And cherry blossoms, they have them planted all up and down the avenues. And you can see the flags that are out for the curry rice shops where you can go in and get some lunch. Kare raisu. When I worked at Kagoshima, I lived in the city. You saw the apartment that I lived in. That is Sakurajima volcano. You see the smoke coming out of the top? That's a good day. Yes, that is a very good day. There was one day in October. It was near my birthday. I was getting up in the morning. I was calling my mom. It was a birthday call, really. And she was just getting on the line when I opened the window, right? I'm living on the 5th floor, corner apartment. I opened the drape, I'm looking out, and there's no smoke coming out of the volcano. And Mom is saying, hey, what's up? And I said, hi, Mom. And before I could say anything else, boom, the top blew off of the volcano. A dark black cloud went miles into the sky. It was autumn, so all that cool autumn air and that hot ash, they collided. And so around the top of the volcano was a corona of lightning. That cloud went up, 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 and then it started curling over. Gravity took effect. and then it started looking a whole lot like a mushroom cloud to me. But that curling mushroom went down to the bay, to the water of Kinko Bay here. So you can imagine that it went up, 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 up. It started curling. It eventually hit that water. The wind had got a hold of it, and it started coming towards the city. It was what's called a pyroclastic flow. These can be filled with poisonous gas. They can kill you. Think about Pompeii and Herculaneum. You've probably heard about what happened to them during the pyroclastic flows. Now, normally that ash just falls on the city on a normal day. You can see over here, there's ash. You sweep it up, you put it in a bag, and you send it back to the volcano. That's what they do. But on this day, it's coming at us with a vengeance. So we had our safety drills. The alarm went off. Everybody had their assigned places. We had to make sure all of the windows and all of the doors were shut and secured to try and keep out the flow, the ash and the gas and whatever else was coming at us. So we closed it all up, and we could see this dark cloud, like a dark curtain, coming closer to us very fast across the bay. And I'm on the phone going, bye, Mom, I got to go. We're having a volcanic eruption. And I'm in get her done mode, right? Click off, set the phone down. Mom's like, stop. Of course, Mom's going to worry. And I'm like, all right, we got to get everything closed up so that we don't suffocate from whatever's coming at us. So it's pitch black. It's coming towards us. We can see the city. Whenever that cloud hits, you can't see anything. And it's coming at us fast. It finally hits the building where I am, and we're in pitch black darkness. It's like it's midnight. And we're there. We're inside the building. It's closed up tight so we can still breathe. But we can't see anything. The sun doesn't exist for us inside that cloud. It passes over, and when it's all done, we had about half a foot of ash that was deposited on everything. The city was completely gray. It was like being in a black and white movie. And then the cleanup begins. So we were lucky. It was mostly ash. We did not get anything poisonous, and we didn't get some of the rocks that sometimes come out of a volcano. Now, people who live here, you can see there's little villages all over the place on the side of the mountain because the soil is so rich. The farmers love the soil. So people live over there and they grow crops over there. The children, however, when they go to school, they're walking down the sidewalks from their home to the school building. They have to wear hard hats. Well, they're supposed to wear hard hats. I can't tell you the number of times I was driving along over there and you'd see these little 5-year-olds, they swinging their hats. You gotta put that hat on. I don't care. Anyway, but that's Kagoshima City. There's the train station. Trains and trolleys are really important. They have really great infrastructure. Buses. You can get pretty much anywhere you want to go in Japan with a train, a bus, walking, taking a trolley, a ferry. Really good infrastructure. A lot better than over here. Here, if you don't have a car, you're pretty well stuck places, aren't you? Over there, not so much. And there's the main shopping arcade. Here we go to Walmart, right? Everything's at Walmart. Over there, you go to the Tenmon-kan, which is, as you can see, there's a roofed-in street. Lots of streets, actually. There is connected like a warren of streets. And there's shop after shop after shop selling pretty much anything you'd ever want in the Tenmon-kan shopping arcade area. Very popular. People love to go to the Tenmon-kan. And of course, there's the ash. It's a good day. A good day in Kagoshima. But the ferry will take cars across from Kagoshima City to Sakurajima Island so that you could go to the other side of Kyushu without having to drive all the way around the bay. So ferries are very popular. And of course, there's just a little bit more of what my district looked like in Kagoshima City. So you could see, I'm just looking down on the houses, pretty close together, aren't they? Yeah. Of course, then you have the old daimyo's residence. Traditional, has a little bit more space, not quite as packed in. That is big gardens. So this is the Shimazu daimyos that ruled Satsuma for a long time until the Meiji Restoration kind of transformed the way Japan was ruled for a while. And the Shimazu daimyos, they were very forward thinking. For the most part, the emperors of Japan did not like foreigners coming in. They brought new language, new ideas, new things. No, remember we said that different is wrong, and that was pretty much the idea of the emperors. Different is wrong. You're different, so we don't want you here. There's something wrong with you, right? Which we're still battling today. But the Shimazu daimyo said, new ideas. Maybe some of them are wrong, but maybe some of them are actually interesting. I like these technologies that they're bringing in. Remember, this is the time of cannons and sailing ships, right? And pistols and rifles. And so we got these Dutch, English, and Portuguese merchants who are wanting desperately to trade with Japan because that's a lot of money that they see. But the shogun is saying no. The emperor is saying no. The Shimazu daimyo is saying maybe. And so he sets up a secretive trading negotiation, and he starts bringing in technologies. And what you see there is one of his foundries where he's starting to make European-style weapons, cannons, and firearms in that. Now it's a glass factory that makes Satsuma cut glass. But then he was on the cutting edge of technology for the time. So there's Satsuma cut glass. Other things that the area is famous for are the white Satsuma ware with the painted designs on it. A lot of the potters that make this originally came from Korea. And I'm not saying it was a good thing, but what the Shimazu daimyos did was they sailed over to Korea, kidnapped the potters that made the pottery that they liked, and brought them back to Japan, established them in a village, and said, now you're going to make pottery for us. Yeah, that is what we call human trafficking now. That's a total no-no, but the Shimazu, hey, that's what they did. And if at the Shimazu residence, sometimes they hold traditional events like poetry contests. And I loved this one. I watched it. I would have loved to have been able to participate, but I don't write Japanese poetry that fast. Not even then when I was like submerged in it 24/7. But what would happen is, you see this little guy here at the top? He's kind of bending over the water, and there's lots of cups here. And there's little wooden things. There's little wooden platforms that look kind of like ducks, and they have a hollow in their back. And in the hollow, you put a little bowl, and in the bowl, you pour sake. Now the game, it's a drinking game. Right? But it's a poetry writing drinking game. So all of these people, dressed in their finery, are sitting along the edge of the creek. Now, when he says go, you got to write your poem, right? And by the time that little duck comes to you, if you haven't written your poem, you got to drink. And you can imagine, after a few ducks, the poetry gets really interesting. So this poor guy, I don't know, he must be really good at writing poetry. Otherwise, see, I'd be wanting to sit down here so I could think about it a little bit, right, before the duck got to me. But if it's your turn, You gotta have your poem by the time the duck gets to you. And you got a helper that goes and stops the duck. Read your poem. All right, and then everybody else is judging your poem. Anyway. All right, a couple more pictures and then I'll take a couple of questions. This is Kagoshima City. The old Shimazu's castle was destroyed after World War II, but the base of it is still there. So you see the base and a bridge going over the original moat that went into the castle. Now it's the history museum for the city. It's really interesting to go in. Totally new building. The castle does not exist anymore, just the base. But inside the museum, they have lots of rooms set up to show you what the traditional Japanese homes would have been like around the 19th century, so 1868 or so, around the Meiji Restoration. So you see there the painted fusuma, the sliding doors, and the kimono that's on the kimono rack. And yes, I worked at a Catholic college. So Catholicism has been in Japan for a very long time. And the first Catholic missionary to Japan was St. Francis Xavier. And he arrived in 1549. That's over 400 years. So we don't think about that a lot when we think about Japan. But St. Francis came back while I was there. Well, at least his hand came back, which you can see mummified in the case over there. That's not a spoon. I know it looks like a spoon, but it's not a spoon. It's his left hand. So his left hand is right there. And it's in a jeweled case, and the nuns loved it. They told me, "Oh, we gotta go see St. Francis while he's here visiting the city." So we did, and we bowed to St. Francis and said, "Thank you for coming over and starting the Catholic mission there." And you can see a little monument to him. There's also, however, shrines. Shrines are Shinto religion. There's also temples. Temples are Buddhist. There's also Taoist, and there's also Confucius. So there's a syncretism of religions there. It's not like you're Catholic and you belong over there, and you're Shinto and you belong over there, and you're Buddhist and you belong over there. Most everybody there has a little bit of a mixture. Yeah. So you might be Shinto and Buddhist, or Catholic and Shinto, which is kind of weird to us thinking about it, but they find it perfectly normal. Some other things, you never know in the middle of the city where you're going to find a little shrine. That's a shrine to a rice paddy god called a Tanokami. Kami just means God. So a god of the rice fields. And you'd bring a little sake and maybe a little tidbit to eat, and you'd clap in front of him to get his attention, and you'd bow and you'd say your prayer, and then you'd clap to say, "All right, I'm done now." And then you'd go on your way, right? The Tanokamis, right? And you'd do the same thing at a Shinto shrine. Of course, you'd wash your hands first, right? And then you'd go in and pay your respects. A couple other views of Sakurajima. There's the Satsuma, right? Christmas, yeah, Christmas oranges. And does anybody know what a daikon is? You heard of it? It's a radish. It's a radish, yeah. That thing is bigger than a basketball. It's a basketball-sized radish. Yeah, they put them in soups. Yes, you boil the radish. It's actually really good in soups. And yes, those little round red things that you buy at the grocery store, you can boil those too. And yes, they are also very good in soups. But we rarely think about doing that over here, don't we? We eat them raw in a salad, and that's the only way we eat them. But no, I prefer mine cooked in a soup. They're really delicious. Some other things, a couple of the festivals. There's the Sandcraft Festival. All of those sculptures are made out of sand, wet sand. There's beautiful coastlines, and then there's onsens, hot springs. I love the hot springs. I love the hot springs. Every town has lots of them, and they all have different themes. And decorated in different ways. They have different water therapies that are available in these hot springs. Most of them are naturally heated water from the volcano, the lava underneath. And they were one of my very favorite things to do when I was in Japan, visit the local onsens. There's also wildlife. These are cranes. Izumi is famous for the cranes that fly in winter there, and there are thousands of them. And they're also, that's one of the Shinto shrines I was telling you about. This one is the Kirishima Jingu, and there's a hot spring waterfall called the Maruo Waterfall that's really close to the Jinja. Now I've got more pictures. I can show you more pictures, but maybe you have questions. So I'm thinking maybe I better stop. Yes.
You already have 2 or 3 questions in the chat.
Okay.
So,
All right. Let's do questions. Let me grab some water.
so one question had to do with going back to the poetry contest. Would it be, Dr. Forrest asked if it were, if these were haiku, short form, what kinds of poetry, or was it a variety?
Haiku are the really, really short ones. These would be the longer ones.
Okay.
So most of the time, haiku are wonderful and they're highly respected, but most of the time in the contest, it would be the ones that were more than 3 lines.
Oh, wow. So that's even more pressure.
A lot of pressure, yeah. And there's certain symbols that you're supposed to get in the poem, and it has to be related to the season that the poetry there's a lot of rules to these. Yeah, it wasn't just like come up with a limerick. No, there are poetry rules. It's very serious. Yeah. So's the drinking. Yeah. So's the drinking. Very serious. Yes, very serious.
And then Maria wanted to know about how maternity and parenting in general might be different in Japan from here.
Okay. What I'm about to say is going to make some of you very angry. But women in Japan could work up until the time that they got married. Remember I said arranged marriage counselor was my next door neighbor? Okay. Your family would arrange a marriage for you. Sometimes you had very little say in it. The marriage was arranged based on status, right? And social rankings and finances, not necessarily on whether you like the guy or the girl, right? So it worked both ways. You got to meet, if you were lucky, twice before the wedding actually happened. And once you were married, as a woman, you were expected to get pregnant and start having a family. As soon as you got pregnant, you were expected to, whatever job you had, quit your job and become mother only, no employment outside of the home. Did that answer your question?
We'll find out if Maria has any tag-ons. But now from what I have heard, is it true or is this just anecdotal that there's actually been some concern about shortage?
Yeah, they don't have enough babies being born in Japan now. So the population, we're having the same problem here in the United States. Our population is getting older and older. I mean, that problem is the same. We don't have the arranged, that's my bias. I'm thinking arranged marriage. I wouldn't want that for me personally, so I tend to project it on the others. But it works for their society, or it has for a while. But they do have an aging population. There are fewer babies being born.
Is that because, has it shifted more? Are women able to have families and work now more so, like teaching or certain professions?
After a certain number of years, they can go back to work. Yeah. But you can think of it, they're about 30 years behind where we are in women's rights. So where we are now, go back 30 years, and that's about where they are. So they would be in the 80s and 90s, probably where your moms were. So yeah,
Just starting, yeah.
Maria did tag on talking about, there's a TV show where toddlers do errands, like they
Oh,
showed
Lord, yeah.
in the freedoms that
Yeah.
they have. She said, did you see, some things that you're thinking over here, we might not.
Oh yeah, I saw stuff over here like we would be shocked and appalled, but over there it's just totally normal. For example, I'll just give you one example. Um, vending machines. Have you heard about Japanese vending machines? You've heard about them. What do they sell in the Japanese vending machines? About everything. They sell I have seen underwear and coffee right next to each other in vending machines. You'll also see rice vending machines. Oh, you're out of rice and the store's closed? Just go to the vending machine, get your bag, and there you go, bag of rice. There's also liquor and cigarette vending machines. Yeah. Oh yeah. In some of the
Risque part.
Yeah, and some of the seedier sections of the Tenmongan, yeah. Yeah, usually the Yakuza are in on that one. But yes, there are vending machines, and those vending machines that sell the alcohol and the cigarettes open 24/7, and anybody can get to them. And they sell beer, and they sell big old bottles of shochu. Well, who likes to drink shochu? In Japan, mostly older men love the shochu. And so if grandpa is out of his shochu and he wants more, and the wife or the woman of the house is cooking or doing something, who gets sent to go get grandpa his shochu and cigarettes? The grandkids. Like, yo, Sato, get over here. Here's, Sen Yin. I mean, our equivalent of about $10. Go get me a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of shochu. Yes, Grandpa. And then, like a little 5-year-old, going all by himself. He got his little shorts on and a little cap. He gets out there trying to reach the slot, put the money in, hit the button. Hopefully he hit the right one. Down comes the cigarette. Down comes the shochu. He's got them, and he's, on his way back to Grandpa. Good work, boy. So yeah, we see some interesting things.
You have one more question here.
Sorry. Okay.
I don't know. We need to give folks in person a chance. Dr. Forrest asked, I'm also interested in whether you saw any other European influences in Japan due to religious conversion efforts. Is it similar to what is portrayed in Shogun, either the TV show or the book? Oh,
it's been ages since I've watched Shogun. Shogun was rather repressive when I did watch it. So no, it wasn't like that when I was there. They're pretty free and open and interested. Oh, what do you do? In fact, I went around, I consider myself Christian, but I had no problem with my friends, my Japanese friends and my foreign friends, visiting various shrines and seeing the festivals and going up to the shrine office and getting my little, I guess you could call it like a passport stamped with the stamp for that shrine. Because there'd always be a priest there with a stamp ready, and you'd have a little book with blank pages, so you could go up and get the stamp from that shrine, and they would write when you were there, right? And it was just a fun thing to do. And yeah, we would go and visit. In fact, I studied martial arts when I was there, and every New Year, the head of our dojo would insist that we go to that shrine right there and go inside and have the priest bless us so that we could have a year without injury. And we did it. And thank goodness nobody ever got hurt. Hey, so we didn't have a problem with it. It wasn't like there were different religions butting heads in Japan. The syncretism was pretty much the rule of the day. Does that answer Dr. Forrest's question? Okay. Any others? Yes, sir.
I get that Japan is literally a big island with many volcanoes.
Yeah.
My question is every volcano active?
No, the Sakurajima is. In fact, it's one of the most active volcanoes in the whole chain. But most of the ones that you saw, like Kaimandake, it hasn't been active in thousands and thousands of years. So there's a lot of dead, dormant volcanoes as well. And those are the ones I usually like to go hiking on the weekends. Yeah, and before I got a car, I'd bicycle down to Kaimandake and just climb up, sit on the top and look out over the ocean and over Lake Ikeda and just, eat my sandwich and go, ah. Yeah, this is beautiful. Yeah, and the Kirishima Mountains mostly are dormant, and they're the big old mountain range at the north part of Kagoshima. But every now and then you'll see a part of it that's really live, and you never know when something might become more active because it's always. I mean, you got onsens that are naturally heated by lava, so the lava is really close to the surface. So in fact, in the Kirishima Mountains, they had two places, Greater Hell and Little Hell, because there were volcanic vents that were, they were kind of smelly because there was sulfur gas coming out of them, and the sulfur would coat the rocks. Sabrina, you looking a little unconcerned there. Oh, dear. And yeah, then that because of that lava, it makes earthquakes very common. First earthquake or two, I'm going, oh my God, we're all gonna die. And after a while, it's like, oh crap, another one. When they're that common, you get used to them. Don't care as much. Yes, I saw your hand and then your hand.
How common are tsunamis?
Not very, not at all. There was never one when I was there, and we had earthquakes all the time, but we never had a tsunami, and I've never heard of a tsunami hitting Kagoshima, and it's right there on the beach. And what's that?
How long did it take you to learn Japanese?
Japanese is a very different language than English, a very different writing system. In fact, there's 4 writing systems. There's the katakana, the hiragana, the kanji, and the romaji, they call it, our alphabet. They use all 4. So writing it, I learned enough where I could get by. Reading it, I learned enough where I could get by. Speaking it, it was about 2 years before I felt confident enough to go anywhere without a dictionary in my pocket. And I learned the local Japanese, not the standardized. So when I went to Tokyo, I would have ladies, they would be like, they'd have their fans and go, oh, where did you learn your Japanese? Hiding their smile behind their fan because they're laughing at me. Because my Japanese sounded like an old geezer from the South. Did you remember who was in the Kyoku Inkai, the Board of Education photo? It's a bunch of old guys. Where do you think I learned my Japanese from? The old guys and the kids. So it was a mixture of old geezer and little squirt, right? That was my Japanese. And so it was authentic Japanese, but it was like speaking deep South Southern in New York. They were like, what? And they were definitely not expecting it coming out of a female American's mouth. That was really bizarre to them. And so, of course, they would laugh. I was like, hey. My Japanese is authentic. Any others? Well, it's about 12:08. I don't know. Is it time to? You want to? If there's no other questions, and I mean, I could go on, but I think probably this is a good time to end it and say thank you for coming. And if you do have any other questions about Japan, I'll be happy to talk with you. Just ask your questions. But otherwise, thank you, and I hope you have a great day and have a good one.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. In Japan, it would be Dewa Mata, which means I'll see you later. Don't ever say sayonara because that means I will never see you again. So, Dewa Mata.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Y'all are global scholars. Dr. Fowler I assume,
I can give you my Jane Hancock.
thank y'all so much for coming.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll probably have more stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I'm literally on the phone with him. He didn't cancel his transfer in his Verizon to Google Fi. So I'm having to help. That's why
Ah.
I'm sitting there.
Oh, it's
But
okay.
anyway,
It's okay.
I'm going to help him some more. Thanks.
Great. Have a good one.
You know why they changed it from Satsuma?
To Kagoshima. It took place after World War II when the emperor was kind of dethroned.
you.
You're welcome. The really, I mean, the Meiji was a major transformation in the government, but after World War II, when the Americans came in, they completely restructured to form a democracy. So a lot of the old daimyo controlled areas were converted to democratically controlled areas, and to help with that, remember, words have power and meaning. Satsuma still meant Shimazu controlled. Kagoshima became democratically controlled. So that's really what it was. It was a shift of mentality with the shift of naming.
So does that mean that there's some people that still use Satsuma instead?
Yeah, of course there are. Some of the older villagers will still call it Satsuma, but they know it's Kagoshima.
Yeah,
But they'll call it both. Yeah.
understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How did you decide to go to?
Me? It was a job.
Oh, so you went to work?
I went to work. I was just out of grad school. I needed a job. It was a full-time job. I had a degree in English and I had a degree, I can't even see that, what's